The Tower of Babel, Genesis 11 verses 1 to 9. The story opens after the Great Flood. The earth was cleansed, humanity preserved through Noah and his sons. Slowly, families multiplied and began to spread across the earth. But instead of scattering as God had commanded, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth. Genesis 9 verse 1. They clung together, unified by one language and one vision. Imagine it, the plains of Shinar, a vast and fertile land. Thousands of tents and bustling markets spread across the valley. Men shouted orders, women tended fires, children ran laughing between rows of livestock. And over it all, one sound, one language. Genesis 11 verse 1 declares, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech." No barriers, no misunderstandings. One tongue, one people, one purpose. At first glance, it seems beautiful, unity. But underneath that unity stirred something dangerous: pride. The leaders gathered. Perhaps Nimrod, the mighty hunter mentioned earlier in Genesis, stood among them. Voices rose in ambition. "Let us build," one shouted. "Yes, let us make something that will last forever," said another. "Not just a city, but a tower that will touch the heavens." The crowd erupted with cheers. Their hearts beat with pride and defiance. Genesis 11 verse 4 records their words. "Come, let us build ourselves a city, with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Did you hear it? Their motive wasn't to honor God. It was to make a name for themselves. They feared being scattered, even though scattering was God's will. Their dream was not born of faith, but of rebellion. And so, construction began. Brick by brick, stone by stone, the tower rose. Not ordinary clay bricks, they said. "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." Genesis 11 verse 3. Kilns blazed, smoke filled the sky, and hardened bricks stronger than earth itself emerged. With tar as mortar, they bound the stones. Walls climbed higher. Workers strained, sweat pouring from their brows. The sound of hammers echoed day and night. Picture the massive structure rising above the plain, gleaming in the sun, visible for miles. Pride swelled as families pointed. "See, our tower climbs into the heavens. Soon, we will rival the gods." But in heaven, God was watching. Genesis 11 verse 5 says, "But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building." Pause on that. The people thought their tower reached the heavens. Yet God, high and lifted up, still had to come down to see it. Their greatest achievement was small in the eyes of the Almighty. The Trinity deliberated. If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other. Genesis 11 verses 6 to 7. Heaven's decree was set. Imagine the moment. Workers shouting instructions from scaffolds. A man calls for a hammer, his assistant hands him straw. Another cries for more bricks. His neighbor stares blankly, answering in a tongue he has never heard before. Panic erupts. Voices clash in a cacophony of strange sounds. Confusion spreads like wildfire. Arguments turn to fights. Laughter mixes with terror as men realize they can no longer understand their own brothers. The tower's construction halts. Tools drop. Work ceases. And the once unified people scatter in frustration, each family clinging to those who share their tongue. Genesis 11 verses 8 to 9 concludes, "So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city." That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. The unfinished tower loomed like a monument to human pride, a jagged reminder that no matter how high man builds, he cannot rise above the will of God. Wind whistled through the empty scaffolding. Weeds grew around abandoned bricks. The project that was meant to exalt man's name ended in confusion, division, and silence. Lessons from the Tower of Babel. Unity without God is dangerous. The people were united, but their unity was in rebellion, not obedience. Unity alone is not holy, purpose matters. Pride builds towers, but God brings them down. They sought to make a name for themselves. Every empire, every monument of pride eventually crumbles. Only God's name endures. God's will prevails. Man feared scattering, but God scattered them anyway. When we resist His purpose, He will still accomplish it, sometimes in ways that disrupt our plans. Our true tower is Christ. Humanity's attempt to climb up to heaven failed. But God, in His mercy, later sent Jesus down to us. We don't climb to God, He comes down to us. The Tower of Babel still speaks today. We build skyscrapers, empires, and platforms, seeking fame, legacy, and power. But in the end, every tower of pride will fall. Only one foundation stands firm, the name of the Lord. So, I ask you, what towers are you building in your life? Towers of self, of pride, of independence? Or altars of surrender, like Abram built just a few chapters later? The unfinished tower in Shinar is a monument to man's failure, but the cross on Calvary is the monument to God's victory. One reaches up and crumbles. The other reaches down and saves.